Man, oh man, every 10 minutes with these guys committing to Florida State. This feels like the old days. He's Michael Langston, senior recruiting analyst for Warchant.com. My name is Tom Lang. Another 4-star in the fold. Are you tired of these blue chips, people? If you aren't, hit the thumbs up underneath this video. Michael's about to break it down for us. But Michael, so in the last little while here, about less than 24 hours, 4-star quarterback, 4-star wide receiver, and now 4-star tight end, as tight end Xavier Tiller chooses Florida State. What can you tell us about this recruitment and the good news for the Noles?
Yeah, big day. I said earlier when I did the video with Aslan on Devin Carter that Aslan kind of like, you sure? It's like, yeah. I said the momentum's real, man. There's a real feeling behind FSU. On this one, they got him in for official visit. They just knocked it out of the park. I was told, I asked somebody close to Xavier, grade this from a 1 to 10 scale, and they went to a 12. They phenomenally did a layout of great as far as how they're going to utilize him, because they don't utilize tight ends the same way as maybe other schools do, where they're more used as sometimes as receivers or stuff like that. So they'll do a lot of different mixtures, and they did a phenomenal job of laying out the plan. Because I'll be honest, guys, I was skeptical even after that official visit. Even my sources were telling me, hey, Mike, they feel like it's a real shot. People inside FSU were telling me he's always wanted to be at FSU. It's like, yeah, okay, you might be saying that just because you're FSU, but I didn't believe it. But I knew the momentum was real as far as the recruitment. I knew there was a really good chance because of how they set up the visit. But Auburn was the overwhelming favorite in this one, and Auburn's not going to be sending any Christmas cards to FSU after the last two decisions. So I think overall just a massive pickup, and man, what a heck of a job by Chris Thompson in this recruitment, but also just in that room. Chase Lofton, 5-star at that time. Landon Thomas, and now you have another top tier 4-star in Xavier Tiller, who can do a little bit of everything. He has built a really incredible room, and I think he's done an incredible job. And just, it's a massive pickup for FSU with that offense, because they needed a tight end in this class, and we didn't know who it would be, whether it be Hezzy Kent or it would be Xavier Tiller. I think Xavier was the one that was probably highest on there, but I think overall it was kind of like whoever jumped in first, and Xavier jumped in, and they got it done, and just a massive pickup because there wasn't a lot of options out. There's a drop in the options outside of those two, so you seriously wanted to get one of those guys, and Thompson, Norvell, and the whole offensive staff, got it done.
So you answered question number one that I had, which was how does this impact Hezzy Kent? So you think there's one spot here, Xavier Tiller took it. Yeah, this is a great point, Michael. Chris Thompson has been recruiting this position very well over the years. But even in Mike Norvell's offense, which uses a lot of the skill sets of the tight end, you go to Gus's offense,
Hmm.
you've got a chance to be a centerpiece. This has to be a very attractive offense for tight ends, and that has to be a reason I would think that you had two guys, real blue chippers. This is a top 250 player in Xavier Tiller vying for this position, and Xavier decided to pull the trigger.
Yeah, and I think it's a great point of what you just said with Gus, because Gus is Mike and him are intertwined together. So, and Mike's always done a really good job of his teams. If you over the years with Memphis and whatever, they utilize the tight end really well. So you got to believe Gus is going to do the same thing, because Gus has some of the same tendencies and stuff that Mike wants to do. So to add a guy like that you can use as basically a big receiver or a guy that you can line up anywhere, I think it was a massive deal. But I think one, it's a great talent. Two, you didn't have a lot of choices for this position. There's such a drop off between those two that you mentioned with Kent and Hiller. So get one of them, or Teller, to get one of them locked in, I think is a massive thing. And their offense is, if we had a fire emoji, the offensive recruiting right now is, certainly cooking. And I think this also, I think part of it, Tom, too, you have to throw it in there, is the Jaden O'Neal effect, where you have a quarterback. Now that you have a quarterback, that's a lot more too enticing to a tight end or a receiver or a running back or even an offensive lineman, when you have a guy that's going to headline the class. I said to Aslan earlier, they didn't have anybody that really was the focal point, the speaking mouthpiece of this class. Now they have like three guys, I think, that can do that.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'm looking, Michael, at some of these clips. I'm going to try and back it up and see if I can't land on the spot. Yeah, okay. Take a look at the size of Xavier Tiller. He's 6'5", 245 pounds, and he's still got a season yet to play, a senior year yet to play. Michael, these are sophomore season highlights that we're watching. Look at the size of him compared to these other guys. I mean, if you're talking about, not just blue chip ratio and 4 stars versus 3 stars, you're just looking at the size of what Florida State has brought in the last couple of weeks. I'll stick with the offense. Jaden O'Neal is a large body, and I know that some people might say he doesn't fit Gus's offense perfectly, but you're talking 6'3", 200 pounds, who's mobile. These receivers that they brought in aren't tiny either, and now another large body. It really looks like the offensive side, like you said, offense is really going to a different place right now as Florida State creeps into the top dozen in the country in the industry rankings at the time of this commitment.
Yeah, and I'll even say, even with that offense, there's several guys that have run Gus's offense that are not Gus prototypical quarterbacks. So it doesn't have to be a fit of everything. It just has to be a fit for the guys that you're bringing in, the guys that you're going to be meshed with him as far as talent wise. And the main thing you wanted to see is playmakers around Jaden, and he didn't take long to kind of really get the going. And I don't think they're done. I think there's going to be a lot more as far as attraction. And like I said, the buzz is real. And now that you have a tight end, because I think that was, to me, that was the hardest obstacle as far as the offensive recruiting of guys that you can get. Because one, like I said, they had to make a big comeback against Auburn, because Auburn was the leader when he decommitted from Texas A&M. It was like clear it was more than likely gonna be Auburn. I think it was like almost a foregone conclusion. And then FSU started kicking in there. They kept it behind the scenes talking, and there was a lot of positive dialogue between the two. And then they nailed the official visit, and the rest is history. It's why I say in recruiting, it's never done, no matter what it looks like going into a visit. That's why you just want to get them on campus, because you get them on campus, things change and things shift, and certainly this is one that happened that way.
So you believe that the momentum is continuing.
Yeah.
In what ways? You don't necessarily have to say, well, this kid is going to be committing soon. I mean, we all know that there were RPMs in for Chauncey Kennan recently. He's on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
These things do get contagious. And I'm just like you, Michael. I totally agree with you. Like, momentum is real in this particular realm, in the recruiting realm.
Right.
Where do you think Florida State picks up heat even more after getting these yeses in sequence?
Well, I think you have to start at receiver position. You had Madam Williams, who's committed to Texas A&M. He came on campus. He's a big FSU fan growing up. Him and Jaden are pretty close. I'm not predicting an RPM pick. I haven't put anything in yet, but that's one that I'm seriously tracking, where I feel like there's a real chance. And I think there's going to be other receivers. Like you have Keon Chapman, who visited. He also was at the 7-on-7. That's another 4-star they like a lot. North Carolina, FSU have been the teams. So I think it's really if they push there and see where they go from there. But I think overall the receiver position is the one that I would focus the most on. And I'm just throwing this out there. Carson Baker, running back, he's at the same school as Xavier Tiller. So I'm pretty confident Xavier's going to be recruiting that guy, even though he's committed to Florida. FSU does need another running back in this class. And we heard some good stuff of minimum of how that visit went when he officially visited FSU. So I wouldn't rule that one out, where FSU will probably return to that one, turn back to that one, and see if they can pull that one later in the year. But that's one that certainly you can't turn your eye away from. That's one that I think they'll be involved with. But overall, I think it's mostly the offensive side of the ball of really just continuing this momentum and adding more playmakers with Jaden.
I gotta ask you then, Michael. This is a fun question. I didn't think I was going to ask anytime in the next 2-3 years. How many receivers could they take in this class, do you think?
I'd say like 4. I could see them taking 4. You already have EJ. You already have EJ White. He's already in there. Certainly, you got Brandon Bennett. We know they have Devin Carter. If you add Madden Williams, that might put you at a level where okay, we're good. So I'd say one more receiver if they keep what they have. I think if you do that, then probably one more receiver. I think it's why we haven't heard yet about the Chapman push, because there's still Madden out there, and certainly I think they want to see how that works. But overall, I think 4 it looks like.
Do you enjoy your job on days like this, Michael?
This is fun, guys. People know. I don't know if you can see the smile or the body language from me, but I'm having a lot of fun. This is a lot different. It's a lot funner when it's good news, guys. It's a lot funner of doing this, and I feel really happy. Not just for makes my job easier, but I'm happy for the staff that they made the change they need to, and they've changed kind of the perception of the way people viewed FSU going into the season. Now they still got to show it. So if they show it during the season, I think that's the next step. But I think overall, I'm happy for those guys because I know they put a lot of work into getting this summer, and I did not expect this many, blue chippers that they've landed so far. Doesn't mean it's going to sign all these guys, but I think overall it's a great feeling for FSU to really kind of turn things around, and you're talking about a 2-10 season where they had to generate excitement off a 2-10 season and a new staff, and there's no question this new staff has added buzz and excitement to the program going into the season.
Yeah, there's no doubt is right. I gave them a little too much credit. I said they creeped in the top dozen. I just looked at the 2026 industry rankings. Baker's dozen. They're at 13th, just behind Penn State right now, just fractionally behind, but with 10 4-stars now in the class Florida State has, and that's with a few more potentially saying yes in the near future. Michael, really appreciate the breakdown. I love when you get a good hybrid tight end prospect like this. These are the fun ones to watch on the field. We appreciate the breakdown as always.
You got it.